Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter. We're brought to you by our friends at Time to Pet. How do you serve your community? From offering employment opportunities to serving specific needs, our businesses can be a huge asset to our local communities. Today, LeAnna Quartuccio and Brandon Elkins, owner of Hyde, join us to discuss why focusing on staying local is so powerful. They work hard on offering appealing benefits to their staff and walk us through how they can make that happen. They also made a big decision to open a doggy daycare to better serve their community. They share their lessons from that process and some of their training protocols to turn new staff members into professionals. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm LeAnna, and I am one half of Hyde. So we provide various pet care services to the Hyde Park neighborhood of Chicago. It's on the south side. We do all of your regular dog walking, cat sitting, pet sitting, and we recently opened a doggy daycare, and that is Brandon's baby, the doggy daycare. So, Brandon.
My name's Brandon Elkins. One half co-owner of Hyde Park Dog Walking and Pet Care and Hyde Park Play Park. Been involved with this since the very beginning, and
whether I wanted to
be or not. I kind of act as the general manager over the doggy daycare, and I'm payroll, and we do all that stuff together. And
he does all the stuff I don't like to do.
Yeah, and she does all the stuff I don't like to do, so it works.
Were those discussions that you had early on about those roles, or did they just kind of fall into place?
No.
Oh, no. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. We just kind of fumbled through it.
There was a lot of
contention.
A lot of contention. A lot of
figuring out our places.
Yeah, a lot of butting our heads and figuring out where we exist in the framework of running your own business. As I'm sure there's I try to be a jack of all trades, like I try to be good at everything I do, and there's just certain things that we've realized over the years, like I don't know, customer service, that I'm not very good at because I'm just too I'm too blunt when I have to deal with people. So LeAnna deals with the people side, and I deal with the money side and all the technical stuff in the background. Like I did all the design for our website and all the logos and everything. And I've handled the daycare. So, no, it was not, it was a thing over the years. Yeah.
It's always a learning process. I'm still to this day, trying to figuring out as things change, right? If you start off as the dog walking and pet sitting, now figuring out how those roles change or move around with the adding of the facility with it as well.
Yeah. We also, I don't know. I don't necessarily think the word resistant, but we, it was just us for many years, and we were hesitant to hire a manager because that's handing over responsibility to somebody else. And, just this year, once we got the daycare up and running, we realized that with the amount of business that we're doing, we needed more hands. We've got a very good, general manager, Todd, who handles, a lot of the day-to-day stuff, scheduling and the daycare and supervising that. So that's allowed us to step back and really cement our roles and what we're doing.
Added some clarity for that, I'm sure. But as you mentioned, back in 2015, 2016, in those early days, there wasn't a whole lot of clarity figuring all that out. Why did you decide to start your own business back then?
So
we're crazy. That's why.
Excellent.
Yes. I like how, they always say you have to be a little crazy to be an entrepreneur. So it was honestly kind of an accident. I did dog walking all through college for a really great company on the north side called Chicago Dog Walkers. And that's where I learned how much I loved the job. And I learned how to treat clients, how to, actually do the job, and how to treat employees. So when our son started school, I was a stay-at-home mom, and Brandon was the breadwinner. He had an office job up in Lincoln Park. I was like, all right, well, I need to do something with my time. So I'm going to go walk dogs again. I really like doing that. I don't need to do anything. And I mean, honestly, there just wasn't anybody hiring in our area, like in our neighborhood. And because we're on the south side of Chicago, so there's, I mean, probably 100 pet care businesses that service the north side, mid side. And so I started just because there was nobody to work for. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just do it myself. And, so did like a whole summer's worth of crash courses in different business classes. SCORE is, I think they're nationwide, retired business people offering business advice for free, different meetings and things. Anyway, so I started just, as a hobby for myself. And within, I think about 3 months, I ended up hiring a friend in the neighborhood to help out, just as an independent contractor. And then Brandon, he quit his job less than 6 months after we started.
Yeah, she started officially in October 2015, and by February of the next year, I took vacation from my desk job over Christmas that year and did a pet sit and was doing like 18 walks a day and a pet sit over Christmas. So we went from nothing to like.
It was so quick.
It was so quick.
Wow.
Way too quick.
It was. It was
overwhelming.
It was a little too quick.
Well, so was that decision for you, Brandon, to leave your other job hey, there's an opportunity over here, or hey, there's help over here, or hey, after you did that visit, you were like, oh, actually, I really like this?
Well, all of the above, I think. I was answering emails at work for her while she was out doing walks and stuff. And like, it got to the point where it was like, okay, like I either need to go do this full time, because there's that much work there. There's, all the stuff that's involved in running a business that was fine shouldering for her when we had 5 clients, but we went from 1 to like 45 and then like 125.
Wow.
And I was like, if we ever hit 500 clients, I'll eat my hat. And now we have like 1,000 in our database. Yeah.
How was the hat?
Delicious. But I was also, it was terrifying, because it very quickly went from her kind of side gig to like, this is I swore up and down there was no way that she would ever make the amount of money that I was making at my desk job doing this. I said, there's no way. You're crazy. Like I'm going to quit my job and we're just going to lose everything. And thankfully that didn't happen.
Small miracles.
Small miracles that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
But,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, it very quickly became evident that if anybody, if it was going to keep going or go anywhere, that it was going to take more than just LeAnna. And, that led to me just kind of jumping over and just getting into it. I've always loved taking care of animals, but, as well as I do, as somebody that does it for a living, that there's a difference between liking to take care of animals and like doing it as a profession. Like,
Yeah.
Days where you pull a wadded up piece of aluminum foil out of a golden retriever's throat in the rain, that you're like, okay, like I'm a professional.
I have to really, really like this to make this a thing. But it is scary, and we all have that experience in our business where we go, okay, this is either going to be a thing, but I have to at least try this and give this full faith effort to continue to push forward. And you mentioned a lot of that early growth in the days, how it was just so rapid. What was it like handling that, and how did that change your perspective on it?
Well, so are you from around? Where are you at?
We're in central Missouri.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much you know about Chicago and like how the city is arranged, but the South Side, anything south of downtown, historically is Black communities, right? And it's very heavily underserviced. It's normally, low income. Our neighborhood's not. I mean, it's centered around the University of Chicago, where there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in our neighborhood, but because it's on the South Side,
relaxing. A lot of services.
Yeah, I mean, it's underserved all over the place. There's nothing down here, and we moved here just kind of randomly, right? We just ended up getting an apartment in the neighborhood, but we love it. We've been here for 10 years, and when LeAnna, started this, I don't even think we understood how massive the lack of service was down here. Like, there were 2 other companies that were sort of down here that like she went to work for, and they just didn't pay well enough.
That was a big turning point for me, is interviewing for another company. It was based elsewhere in Chicago, but they did some services down here, and I was going to be helping recruit new clients and doing all these things. And then I got the pay rates, and they were, lower than what I was making back in college, and thought, why am I going to do all this for somebody else? And that was when I also had my resolve to, when we did hire, that we were going to pay well. We were going to make sure to, treat people well.
I think it took us I think it happened before we even knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Right? Like we literally were like, okay, we're a dog walking company. And then it was like, here you go.
Yeah.
You wanted a dog walking company. Here you go.
You're all the dogs.
So yeah, I mean, we really, we didn't, I guess we're spoiled because we stepped into this kind of first, 7 years ago. There are other companies down here that are competing with us now, but we didn't have to do hardly any advertising. I mean, like, we put an ad in the local newspaper. We handed out flyers. Yeah, but it was all word of mouth, right? Like, it was flyers. It's not like we went out and got a billboard or something. We started out with $600, like literally $600, and I borrowed it from a guy I worked with.
Yep.
Wow.
Just to get all the insurance and licensing and everything and business cards.
So it definitely woke us both up to what was possible.
All right. Well, and especially when you're serving people well, right? I think that really changes the perspective of when your business is serving people well. That growth comes very naturally, both in underserved areas and with people who just recognize the quality of care that you're providing.
I always tell people that, I always tell our employees that, and they're probably tired of hearing it out of me, the ones that have worked for us a while, but what we don't sell a service, we sell trust, right? That's what a pet care company sells, is trust. You can hire any ding dong from college that's on holiday vacation, and they can come in and, take your dog out a couple of times. But if something bad happens to that dog, that ding dong doesn't know what's going on, right? We do. So we've always focused on providing that really super high level of care for the animals, professional, reliable, and paying our people and treating the people that work for us well, so that, we don't have that constant turnover. We don't have that, like, having to retrain somebody through our training process. And LeAnna's, she's been a big driver of that. Throughout the whole thing. We were just talking about this the other day, like how that's always been one of our main focuses: maintain high quality service and treat our people that work for us well.
Yeah, it's recognizing that those people that you have working for you, you don't have a business if you don't have them on staff. And just, I hear people say, oh, I don't want to hire, it costs me money. I don't want to hire, it's too expensive. Did you ever struggle with that whenever you were bringing people on?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I always wanted to do more and pay more and offer more than what we really could.
Yeah.
So there were definitely really bad growing pains. I'd say until we got to about, I'd say like 20 employees or so, it really was a bit of a financial struggle to provide for people as much as we wanted to. Like we were almost living paycheck to paycheck too. To try to provide for everybody. But now that we're at, I think 30 employees. 30 something.
Which is wild to think about. But
with, obviously with more employees, more income, more money to be able to spread around. So.
Well, you guys offer quite a few benefits to staff. And I know that that's not very common in the pet care industry, again, with people concerned about prices and overheads. How do you make that work?
I think it's been, it's it's been our reputation, for one, like building our, a reputation in the neighborhood, because we do only service this specific neighborhood. So our whole area is about a 3-mile radius. It's very small.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very small. So, it's all word of mouth at this point. But anyway, people will pay, a little bit more because of the reputation. So we're able, and there are clients that does mean something to, that we tell people, we pay a living wage, our, above industry standard. We offer these benefits, and that does mean something to some clients. And so they'll be more apt to, choose us.
We're upfront about it with the customers, especially, like, we just sent out an email. We're raising prices this year for the first time in a while. And we sent out an email and said, hey, like, we're not doing this. For one, we're bad capitalists. Like, if we just screwed our employees just a little bit more, we would be way more comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, kept that money in our pockets and didn't offer PTO and didn't, like, offer super good rates on walks to people.
Health insurance
and all that, 401k, they're not even, it's a simple IRA, but it's,
I don't know anything about that.
Something.
Something.
It's all stuff that comes out of our pocket, right? I mean, that comes out of the profit of the company. And that's how we balanced it, is not being millionaires. We're not.
Well, our goal has always been and remains to just provide a good service.
Yeah.
Like, it's never been about the money.
Happy side effect.
It's happy side effect. That's it.
It does come along with that. But focusing on those fundamentals and those basics and really leaning into that. And so it's very interesting how I know a lot of people, when they raise prices, they justify it with, cost of living is going up. I'm a professional. Look at all the things that I provide. And you guys are actually focusing on, look what the benefits that we give our staff, right? That's and kind of leaning into that perception. And you said the reputation of a company that takes care of people as much as they do pets.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The pets are, for me, they're my number one priority by far. But my second priority is our staff. Third priority, clients. I mean, honestly.
That hierarchy of going, and that kind of dictates where these things fall out, and that, of going, okay, if my second one is staff, that means I need to look into health insurance, how I can help them set up themselves for success by offering investment opportunities and discounts, and that, again, pulling up back a little bit and going, what's the cost if I don't do this? What does that mean for my company and the people that I have on staff?
Yeah, we have people that have been with us. Like, Cooper's been with us for 6 years, right?
Yeah, we have one employee's been with us longer than Brandon.
Vaughn's worked for us for the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
I mean, it's a fundamental thing for us, that you can't run a successful business on your own shoulders, and the people that think that they can are fooling themselves. Like, we couldn't do the volume that we do and make the amount of money that we have and have the opportunities to take that and expand, especially with the daycare. We couldn't do any of that stuff with just the two of us. And I think too many business owners fall into that trap where they say, I did all this. Like, yeah, we did a lot. We worked every day for the last 8 years, but without those other people, it doesn't happen.
I did want to touch on the health insurance one, because that's a big topic I see discussed a lot. Is that something you're paying fully for, half for, offering as an option with the group that you have? How is that implemented?
It's through a payroll provider, Gusto, so they make it very easy to turn it on and do the enrollment and everything. So every year, that's been a long-term goal of mine. And so every year we've been able to improve it a little bit more. So like the first year we were only able to offer, like 20% or something. So this year we're up to 50% that we pay for. And it's, for all the full-time employees, which a good portion of our staff are full-time. Not a lot of them have taken it, but they have that, they
it's not mandatory. I mean, we provide it as an option. And then if people want to take it, then we take the hit on the 50%.
Yeah. And we're on the same health plan as they are. So it's, so we all have the same health plan. We don't have anything better. but
it's definitely, like I said, for LeAnna, it's always been this kind of, we have a push and pull, right? Because I come from a world where I worked in corporate for 10 years and I'm used to just being ruthless about it. Like, no, like save money at all costs. Like, no benefits, none of this. And then I look at it and I'm thinking like, that's brainwashing. That's just like from 10 years of being in an environment where if you didn't do that stuff, like you could lose your job.
Yeah.
You're going to save money. And so we balance each other out. Like she tends to lean towards the like, give everybody everything. And I lean to give everybody nothing, and then we kind of balance out in the middle.
That's part of that mindset of becoming an employer, right? Of going, okay, this is where I'm at. I have to balance out how this is going to work. And yeah, it really does change your perspective the first time a staff member is standing there with their kid talking about the piano lessons that they're paying for because of the job, or what they're doing because they're employed with you. It really takes that shift and go, yeah, this really isn't about me so much anymore, and I'm doing something a lot bigger here.
So we set up a GoFundMe for our employees in May after the COVID lockdown, and I mean,
when things first started to really get scary, and everybody was, I think it was kind of before the actual lockdown happened, and things were, just people started. I'm sure you remember, people just started canceling left and right, and nobody really knew what was going on, and all of our staff started to panic, like, oh my God, I had this pet sit lined up, I had this lined up, and now it's gone. And we'd never experienced anything like it before.
No, but neither has anybody else.
Yes. Novel and all.
Like, okay.
But yeah, so our initial, like our first course of action was, how do we take care of our people? What are we going to do? So we set up a GoFundMe, and our clients contributed. I want to say something like
$20,000.
It was a lot of money, but it all went to our employees just to keep them afloat.
We didn't even take a cent of it.
No, we paid our mortgage.
Oh, that's right.
We paid our mortgage, which was $2,500. But anyway, that was our first concern, and we were able to get through that. And some people, even though we urged everybody to file for unemployment, like get on it, it's still, there were some people that didn't get it for months. They had no income. There was no dogs to walk, so we didn't have any way to pay people. But that a lot of those people are still with us.
Yeah.
Like they stuck around, and once things picked back up, they're still here.
So yeah, like I kind of brought that up as, to your point, like you do realize at some point that like you have to take care of these people that work for you. Like you got to make sure that they're getting support.
Yeah, well, we have expectations of commitment towards us, right? We want people to be committed and invested in their work. And if we are doing our job, we're leading by example and not just committing to them, but investing back into them through all sorts of new trainings and benefits and things that are going to help improve their quality of life, right? Because it's that way we get a much better work relationship there, instead of just a top down, everything under their thumbs and control.
Right.
The benefits that you offered, are those something that you got feedback from staff that they were wanting? Because I know people may be listening to this going, how do I know what to even offer? What kind of advice would you give to people in that position?
We did ask. So one of the things that we do, we send out quarterly surveys to all of our employees, like called very creatively employee satisfaction survey.
Nice.
Yeah. And so in the questions will change. Like last time we asked people like, would you prefer to be paid weekly or biweekly? So we asked different things like that over the years. And so, yeah, these benefits were based on the feedback that we got from staff of things that like I thought that I'd like to offer, and then like, hey, would you guys like this? Is there any point in pursuing this? Mm-hmm. And that's led to a lot of the decisions as far as like paid time off. The health insurance. Surprisingly, everybody either didn't care about weekly or biweekly pay or preferred biweekly, so that stuck with biweekly. I kind of thought that was going to be something people were going to be like, yeah, I want to be paid weekly. So you never know until you ask.
Yeah.
Give what you can. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, like whatever's in your means, you should be passing that on to the people that work for you.
That's one of the things I think about with the paid time off in particular, because we offer paid time off to all employees, even part-time. But, we've got some employees that are part-time. They only make $250 a week or something. They don't make a ton as opposed to full-time. But they get paid time off too. And the way I look at it is it equals to be about a week's worth of paid vacation. So that part-time employee making $250 is going to get about $250 because that's what they normally work. And it's that's not a huge amount of money. That's something I could be spending on a really fancy dinner or a pair of boots. I might as well, share it with the employees, and then they, can take time off and not stress about how am I going to pay my bills when I'm taking time off.
Because that is the relationship that we have now as the business owners. We're going, okay, I can have my expensive coffee beverage 7 days a week, or I could pay for this other thing for my staff members. Where does that fall out from my priorities? And that's really what it gets down to when we look at our personal budget, what we need versus what we can provide to our staff, and making sure, as you said, Brandon, we're able to give what we can and pay what we can for our staff.
Right. I think it's irresponsible not to. But there's still plenty of people out there that are going to do it because the bottom line is that, you either want that money in your pocket or you feel good about giving it to somebody else to help them out. Philosophically, it means a lot to us, which is why I think we put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah. Now, you've hired quite a few staff members over the years. And one thing that I did want to ask you on was this process of turning a new hire, a fresh face, into a professional sitter. Because I know that's something that you both focus on, and what Hyde Bark is professionalism. But that is not easy a lot of times to take somebody as a brand new hire, maybe has no experience. How do you view that process?
It is something I have struggled and built for
years. Built this beehive of training that is so good now, especially in the last year. I've been really impressed with.
Yes. One of the very first people I ever hired was one of the worst people I've ever hired in my life. To this day, is still the worst person I've ever hired. In my first few, when I just didn't really know what I was doing. But we do have a very extensive hiring process. Our application is very long. It's very in depth. It has people answering questions that are specifically instructions from clients, read these instructions and then explain what you did. And for one, people that'll go through the whole application process already, that's already a good indicator because it is so long. And then answering these very detail-oriented questions and being able to articulate and communicate is the number two thing. And then seeing, if there are hours availability, what their expectations are. Is something else we ask is how much are you expecting to make per week? Making sure that all lines up. So we're really picky about who we even contact as far as applicants go. So I'd say we contact maybe 1 out of 10 people.
Wow.
And then there are a lot of kind of minor tests, I guess I would say, which I learned from, I wish I could remember the name of the podcast so I could name drop it because, about hiring. But, sending an email and saying, can you give me a call between this time or this time? Making sure they want to and they can do these things. We still do in-person interviews only because I want somebody to be able to show they're willing to make that extra step to come in person, not just do Zoom.
Although we have done a couple of Zoom interviews.
We have, but really prefer, and not even really because I want to interview people in person, but again, just to see that they're going to make that extra effort. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any precedent for people to have pet care experience at all. I've actually found people that don't have experience can sometimes be better because you can train them the way that you want from the ground up.
Fresh clay.
Yeah.
No, it's the work ethic. That's what you have to find and what you cannot train into people.
Yeah. And once we once they get in, once we get through that,
all that,
like we try not to, like, we're not exclusionary in any way, but we do have things that we want out of people. And once we get somebody hired, we have 3 online training courses, depending on what, if they're hired for the daycare, if they're hired for dog walking. So we do Trainual, which we've set up, like goes step by step from our employee handbook. The answers are directly from the employee handbook, or there's one for pet sitting, cats, dogs. We have different Trainuals for different stuff.
For people that aren't familiar with Trainual, it's basically an app or website where you can make your own training materials. You can add videos, pictures, links, tests. So people do all these tests.
And we pay them for it.
Yeah, and then every module that they complete, they get payment for also. And we do on-the-job training is, of course, a big deal, where they'll train with usually 2 different walkers to kind of get some different perspectives. And and that's all paid too. So it's a big investment.
Which is we like to front load on figuring out whether or not somebody's going to work for the situation, so that after we get them through that training period, if I don't hear from them for a month, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I read their reports and that's all I need to know. Like, they do the job the way that we ask them to. They write the reports. They're there on time, and I pay them every 2 weeks, and but we do a lot of work up front to get to that point.
Seeing how people talk about animals is a big indicator too.
Yeah.
Like if you ask them about their pet or about a pet, and or something that they enjoy, and seeing how they liven.
Right. Yeah. Then that's where that one-on-one kind of interaction, you can judge and get a sense for where's this person coming from, what is fueling this person to be here, and then making a judgment call, going, well, is that going to work for us, what we're looking for, our needs right now, so that we know to move forward. And I know it's, front loading a lot of that work may seem scary to people, because you're going, look at all that money you're potentially wasting. Look at all that expense. What if they quit on you the next day and go through all this stuff? Did you struggle with that, or did you just realize this is what we need to do to get our type of staff members in here?
I don't think necessarily that we struggled with it at all, because we realized that it's, this is how we have to do things. We've been in this business for, going on a decade, 7 years, right? So we know all the ins and outs, and I feel it's probably more of an indictment of us and our process if we get all the way through this and then somebody quits in 2 days.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
I mean, we've had it happen. We're also very transparent with people too. So when I am, interviewing people and starting with the training process, I tell them, if at any point you feel like this isn't the right fit for you, just let us know. I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste my time. No hard feelings. And it has happened. It's happened twice where somebody has started training and they've said, you know what, I don't, for whatever reason, or, they didn't come on. And so we just, and it stings, to pay them still when they're not coming on, but you just cut your losses and move on. But I mean, that's only happened a couple of times.
Yeah, the success to failure ratio is overwhelmingly in favor of the way we're doing things now. Still doing it.
Do you think that is because of the extensive process that people really have to be super committed? Is it the content that you're covering, or is it how you're marketing the job ad?
I think it could be. I think it's probably all of the above.
All of the above. Sorry.
I think so, though. I think probably all of the above.
I mean, if pretty much anybody in pet care, I feel like they have that sense of when they meet somebody else that's really into taking care of animals. And,
you can tell.
You can tell
the people that have had experience with animals. You can tell.
You're crazy too.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love crazy ones. I love people that are, always sharing pictures and those are our people.
Yeah, when they break out their phone to show you, you're like, okay, we're on the right track here.
You use Slack to. Are you familiar with Slack?
Like a group text.
Yeah, we use Slack for our staff members as well. Yeah,
excellent. Yeah, so we use that, and we have a channel in our Slack, this is called Cute Pics. So that throughout the day, people can share pics of the, it's great because it'll be like 9:00 at night on a Saturday, right? You shouldn't be messing with Slack, and somebody will send a picture of their cat to our chat. Like, it's just their cat at home. Look at this silly thing that my cat's doing. And then like
everybody's
10 people chime in, like, 9:00 at night on a Saturday. And it's like, those are the kind of people that we like to hire, right?
Not that they're like working at all hours, but just that their love of animals transcends any sensibility of like.
Our channel is called Fave Photo, and so especially for our weekend staff, like 9-10 o'clock at night when they're wrapping up their visits, you just get a huge photo dump, and then everyone's piling in there, going in about their photos, and it's a good way to help connect with them, make them feel connected, but also something that we really struggle with is having camaraderie and connections and community between staff members.
Yeah,
because to help them feel connected to their people, right? Like, oh, you're crazy too. Yes, look, we're all here together. Like, you have found your people, and finding little ways. It's a Slack channel, right? It's not that big of a deal, but it means a lot to people to know I can send a photo here. And people will respond, and I can be connected with somebody who's also like me. It really changes. As simple as it is, it can change a lot.
Yeah. And that's, that's initially why I set it up, is because we had one walker that, several times she was like, well, when do I get to meet the other people we work with? And I was like, well, you don't. Like,
Well, that was also, we had started doing employee meetups right before the pandemic. We'd had a couple of outs at our house.
Yeah.
So
it's,
I think it can be lonely for some people. And that's another thing
but that's what I like.
Vetting. That's something that I always vet in people when I'm interviewing them is asking them, like, figuring out if they thrive alone or if they need to be a part of a team.
The Slack has also kind of allowed us to, like I said, like we're the repository. We know everything between her and I mean, especially her, but like,
this key doesn't work.
Like, okay, what shape's the key?
What shape's the key?
No, that's not a front door key. That's an inside key. Like, we know that. And we've started using Slack instead of us hopping in and immediately giving the information. What we've done is set up channels for like cat sitters, or dog walkers. And then if somebody has a question, we say, hey, just put it out in the general channel, because you're not the only one that's dealt with this problem before. And I don't have to necessarily be the one to answer it. And so they'll put it out, and then another employee will answer the question, and then we're out of that loop.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Dan from NYC Pooch has this to say.
Time to Pet has been a total game changer for us. It's helped us streamline many aspects of our operation, from scheduling and communication to billing and customer management. We actually tested other pet sitting softwares in the past, but these other solutions were clunky and riddled with problems. Everything in Time to Pet has been so well thought out. It's intuitive, feature-rich, and it's always improving.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show can save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. It kind of brings a little bit of that workplace camaraderie again, of going, you're not going to go to your manager, your boss, quote unquote, every time you have a question. You're going to lean over to your person next to you and go, hey, how do I get to use this software? What do we do with this? What's that process? And it builds that I also view it as kind of the repository of knowledge, right? There's so much institutional knowledge in your staff, and referring people back to that really helps them go, oh, wow, like there are helpful people here. And then they can start contributing when they're able to.
Yep. And we've seen more of that as this is kind of, as we've...
It's been a newer thing.
It's relatively
new. We're really excited about it.
Yeah. It's been a thing that we've set up, and just kind of like, because, I don't want to say we're control freaks or anything, but we've had to control every aspect of this business for 7 years, and taking your finger out of that pie sometimes is like scary. It's like, oh, somebody else is going to mess it up instead of me. Like, but yeah, it's been a good learning experience, and it's really surprised me, like you said, that institutional knowledge that all of our folks have, that, I thought we were the only ones they had.
Right.
It makes you really proud of your team members when you see them contribute, and you're like, yes, that was the right answer. Good job.
Or when I go to ask one of the managers to take care of something and it's already done, and I just say, "Why? I don't even know why I got out of bed this morning." Like, I don't like it.
Just go back.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to bed.
Now, when did the idea for the facility come up? Because this seems like a big shift. You're a dog walking pet sitting company, and then a facility comes on your brain. Why?
Mainly you.
I know
really.
the actual. So it wasn't sudden. We actually started. I started brainstorming this idea 5 years ago, maybe.
It's been a long-term goal.
So there, not that far from our house, there's a warehouse that has had a for sale sign on the front of it for years, right? And I got looking at it, and another Chicago geography lesson. The south side of Chicago does not have any. So, like the West Loop used to be the meat packing district. So there's warehouses all over down, right? Plenty of empty space. There's 5 or 6 doggy daycares down there because they walked in, they got a warehouse that was zoned right, and they just took the space and made it into an indoor doggy daycare. Well, we don't have that down here. There's no warehouses. There's no wide open spaces. There's no commercial areas that aren't, complete knockdowns. So I saw this warehouse over here, and I thought, yeah, that's a lot of square footage. Like, we can put something in there. And I just kind of called the guy, and he's an old real estate investor in the neighborhood. And we just started talking, and he was a very eccentric fellow. And we spent many hours working with him, Jerry and Howard. Howard. But so they were on board. This story, I'll try to keep it short, relatively. So we spent a long time coming up with plans, finding money. They were ready to help us. And then we ran into some zoning change issues, and it just went and went and went and went. And we ended up getting approved for a $1 million grant or something like that, but the timeline didn't line up right. So we just had to abandon that whole avenue after years and years of planning. And literally a month or 2 later, after we abandoned it, LeAnna found the place we're at now, and it's already zoned correctly. The restaurant next door wanted to give up some of their space, so we just literally walked in and said, "This is what we're going to do," and they said, "Okay." And we went from there. It was a very long, stressful, and expensive process. I mean, probably on all 3 fronts, exponentially more difficult than we expected it to be.
We financed it by the skin of our teeth.
Absolutely pulled money out of nowhere. I was writing grants and, sending letters and getting rejected, and just barely got it paid for. And January 10th was 1 year open now. So
we had 3. I think we had 3 dogs the very first day we opened. 1 belonged to our manager, so
we technically had 2 dogs.
On our 1-year anniversary, how many did we actually have?
38, something like that.
38 dogs.
Oh wow!
Which for the space, it's much smaller than the original space we were looking at, but. That's about
50 is our max in this space. Still, we're getting close to full.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the other one, you had to abandon that dream. What kept you pushing forward with that next space, and why didn't the dream just die with that building?
I think it was kind of just like a casual continuation. Just kind of looking on LoopNet. That gives you notifications when properties meet your parameters that you're looking for, and just kind of looking there from time to time. And then just finally, one came up that was, about the right size. It was zoned correctly, because the zoning was what kiboshed our original location. Let's try. Let's go talk to them. Let's see. Let's go take a look at it. And
we always say that every decision that we've ever made, we just do it. We saw that property, and she was like,
I think this will work.
Let's do it. And then we did it. I mean, we're both obviously very stubborn people. You have to be tenacious to do this. And I think maybe, it was casual for her, but for me, it was like,
that was his project.
My baby. Like, I'm driving this,
the reins over on that. I was like, I can't handle all this with everything else.
Well, yeah, you have so much going on. You've got the full dog walking, pet sitting business. Now you're adding a completely different service. What was it like learning the ropes for that kind of business model? Okay, next question.
I mean, just had a breakdown.
I just started crying. It was incredibly, I think we're smart enough to lean on the people that we have, and the people, the first couple of folks that I hired definitely had prior daycare experience that I leaned in.
Yeah.
But
because we didn't know what we were doing.
I mean, like, literally no idea. I was just like, we're going to build this, and then we'll figure it out. And literally every single thing I did for the first 3 months, I had to like backtrack and fix. Like all the cleaning supplies that I ordered were wrong. All the solutions for poop inside were wrong. It was just like all these learning experiences, but then you have to also be willing to be like, oh yeah, okay, I was wrong. Like, we'll figure out what works, So it was literally like opening a new business that I've never been involved in before and learning the whole thing from the ground up on our feet. And then taking that, codifying it, and passing it on to the employees. So now the processes that are there that they do every day are what I learned by trial and error to set up correctly.
Right.
So far as cleaning, checklists, keeping just daily maintenance stuff on a schedule. Like, we had to figure all this out. Just
we also
dancing.
also leaned really hard on hiring people that already had experience in the doggy daycare world. So I don't even know, honestly, what is minimum wage in Chicago right now? I think
15.
Is it 15 now?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we, we looked at whatever the minimum wage was at the time and what was kind of a standard pay rate for doggy daycares. So we bumped it up a little bit. So we start people at the doggy daycare at 17, whereas most places were doing whatever minimum wage was. And so that helped us to recruit, people that already worked at doggy daycares, because they come work for us and make a little more money, and we could learn what the hell we're doing.
Yeah, could you read over this for me real quick? Yeah.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, like this is a thing that I copied somewhere on the internet. Does it make sense? Like, and it was really all in the last, just in the course of the year. I mean, I probably, so from when we opened January 10th, I was at the daycare
from open to close,
7 to 7. So I got up at 5, was there by 7, and I was there all day, 5 days a week for 3 or 4 months until, we got everything. I was in the lots, I was out front, handled it all. So I know that when I walk in and I see, like things are done the way that I want them to be done, because I said that at the base, because I did it.
Yeah. So from finding the building to opening day, how long was that process? What was that time span?
Way too long.
We started construction in
June, I think. We started the process, though. We started the process back in April. Construction started in June, and we were
April of 2021 is when we started signing the lease.
Honestly, if we had known at the time how long it was going to take and how expensive it was going to be, I don't think we would have done it.
But
that's so stressful.
Yeah, it was.
And I mean, it cost so much more money we'd ever imagined.
We tore the whole inside of the facility out, like gutted it out, and completely custom redid the inside. It's got custom epoxy flooring, FRP board on the walls so that they can pee wherever. It's all veterinary grade. We completely redid the HVAC and ventilation system. Yeah, I mean, it's done the way that a pet care facility in Chicago should be. Actually, we exceed their ventilation standards by, several fold because we completely redid the whole HVAC system. But, it's one of those things that I look back on and I go like, glad that's over with. And then there's people like, when are you going to open another one? I don't know about that. But it's been very rewarding to do this and to have people in the neighborhood be like, we needed this so much. To have that kind of feedback where people come in and they go, this is great, this is amazing, we needed this so much, and I'm like, yes, yes, you did. Because seriously, I mean, when we were doing the presentation to the alderman about the zoning change, LeAnna sat down and she did a Google map, said, show me every doggy daycare in Chicago, right? And if you look at the map, here's Chicago top to bottom. Here's the north side. What? Oh, well, I'm just telling him it is right. It's an audio medium, sorry. Anyway, south of downtown, one doggy daycare. North of downtown, up to the north side, something like 111.
No.
It was. I can't remember the exact number, but it was right around 100.
Yeah,
like
100 pet care facilities.
Yeah.
For the rest of the city and one for the south side, and then that's that's why we put it here.
We'll get a PetSmart or something like that eventually, I'm sure.
You both focus on being family owned. You local. You mentioned you try and hire within that 3-mile radius for your community. It drives a lot, basically everything that you do for your business. It's really important to you. Why? Where does that come from?
I think it's from, I've lived in a lot of different neighborhoods in Chicago, and this is the only neighborhood that I've ever lived in that has felt like a community. Like it is very, like the people are very friendly. It just has a different feel. It's very diverse. And I just loved it in a way that I've never loved any other neighborhood I've lived in. So that's, and because like Brandon's talked about, with there really not being a lot of services in our neighborhood. So that's why, I really wanted to keep everything local, only service local, and people. And honestly, I mean, having employees that are local, the reliability factor is going to improve because you're not going to have things like snow and traffic and, preventing them from getting there. There's a pragmatic thought too.
It's true.
Yeah, like if you're within a few blocks of what your route anyway, you're going to be able to make it even if you have to walk it.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people do because their routes are so close together. Everybody's so close. But we really just love the community and just really wanted to provide, specifically for this underserviced community.
There's also, there's the fact that we could get bigger, but it would make the business move in directions that we've decided that we don't want it to. We could expand our service range and not be able to give as personal a service, or we don't want it to just feel like WAG or Rover or something like that, where it's an impersonal thing. That this is our area, this is the place that we love, and this is what we love to service. So it's,
and the people that are coming into your home are also your neighbors.
And
it's really good for routes because because we're so making money for the for the employees to be able to make money because we are commission based. So they're getting paid per service. So I don't want somebody to be traveling 15-20 minutes for a 20-minute walk or whatever.
It doesn't make it worth it to them at that point. And now you can start seeing a lot of the benefits that flow from that, not just for you and the logistics of everything, but that's a pitch that you have to the employee of a benefit of that kind of service area. And it sounds like you do, when you make that kind of decision, you do have to say no to things. How tempting has it been to make that 3 mile 3.5 and then 3.7?
we've actually contracted our boundaries over the years.
Yeah.
I mean,
at first we did go a little bit farther because it's just like, oh, somebody wants me.
Right.
Like somebody wants us.
Somebody's going to pay us money, even if I have to drive 15 minutes to get to a dog for a 15-minute walk. It's like, but we've over the years redirected so that we are just kind of focused right in our area.
I have a pretty good referral list too for people, that we're not the right fit for, to be able to send them and say, try one of these people. They might be able to help.
Yeah, we send people to a lot of other
local businesses.
You mentioned the 15-minute walk, and that was one I actually wanted to touch on, because you offer a very wide range of walks and services. What's it like scheduling all of that?
I mean, I don't find it that hard. I honestly, when you had mentioned that question, I was like, we do? It's what we always have done. Initially I wanted to offer a range of services for nothing other than being more affordable to the community, so that somebody couldn't afford a 30-minute walk, like, okay, they could do a 15. So that was my initial reasoning. And it is something we've asked staff about, how they feel about the 15 minutes, and, because they don't pay that well. But they all like them because they're, there's some like cats that, they don't come out the whole time. You don't want to sit there for 30 minutes with a cat that is waiting for you to leave, or, you have an elderly dog that just wants to pee and get back inside.
But
so they do work
for a 30-minute visit for a dog that just goes out and tinkles and comes back in and lays on the couch,
So they really work. But as far as scheduling, I always at this point I've been doing it for so long, I can just kind of look and know, like what's going to fit and where it's going to fit.
I always feel like it's in the movies, like in Minority Report, when she's touching the range.
It's like Tetris. It's
like playing Tetris with the schedule. Like, I'm going in the other room.
But once I'm done, I'm so satisfied. I'm like, that's good.
It is. It's like the Antonio Banderas meme where he's at the computer and he claps and he's done. I'm old. You don't know what
I don't have.
Okay, never mind. Sorry. But, somebody will.
Somebody. Okay.
But I allot a 15-minute buffer between all clients, even the ones that are like down the block, just because I don't want my staff to be rushed, make sure they have sufficient time to get between everybody. We only take clients that do regular schedules at this point also. So they have to do at least 2 regular walks a week. And that has been the biggest game changer. So we're not trying to fit in all, I call them the pop-ups, all these like pop-up walks and like, where the heck am I going to put this? So the vast majority of it, like once it's kind of set, it just kind of stays.
And changing those requirements is a thing that we've learned over time. We want to provide a service, but if you get to the point where every Monday, you're dealing with 20 or 30 appointments that pop up because people, don't think about it doing it earlier than that, or trying to add on the same day. And there was a time in the past when, we had to, when we'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's fine. Yeah, we're just trying to pay the bills, But once you grow to a volume where that becomes prohibitive, what we did was kind of set some scheduling boundaries that aren't necessarily, it's not prohibitive. You can still get the service, but what we need is you to get it in on time so that we can plan things instead of having to scramble keys and run around and deal with all this different stuff. This is just something that we've learned over time on how to set expectations up front, especially with new customers, where you say, like, please have your scheduling in by Sunday evening. And that is the rule from the start,
Yeah, we have to, we require all of our clients to have their schedules in by Sunday evening. And if it is placed after Sunday, there's a $5 surcharge on every appointment. And, I always let people get away with it once. So I'll put it on their invoice, but comp it so they see it. And I tell them about the meet and greet, but people don't always listen to every single word that you say.
What?
Right. Sometimes I just don't hear you. Or there's a 2-hour window. So that's been a huge help. A huge help. Because then we can just get everybody's schedules done. There are a lot of people whose schedules really don't change at all day to day. They just have the same dogs all the time. But yeah, setting those scheduling boundaries is good.
It sets, you mentioned client expectations, how they perceive their interaction with you. It makes it easier on you, less headache as far as scrambling last minute. And Brandon, you mentioned we could do this, but I don't want to anymore, right? It's not worth it to throw everything off. And then it gives a more predictable schedule for your staff too. So you can get that out to them in a quicker fashion and without too much back and forth.
Yeah. We're very transparent I always try to make people understand why we do things the way that we do. So we have our FAQs on our website, but I also explain it to people in person. If they have any sort of questions or pushback about, I explain to them, most of our people are full time. So once we have the schedule made, it's made. And then if you need something late, it's whoever has availability, if they have availability. So just kind of explaining to people there's a reason we do things the way we do. But it is for the betterment of everybody.
LeAnna and Brandon, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for sharing the passion that you have for people and pets and the dedication that you have to your community and making it a better place for everybody. I know that we've a whole lot more that you do, and there's a whole other list of questions that people may have and that they want to reach out to you and follow along with everything that you're doing. So how best can they do that?
We have an Instagram page that people can follow at Hyde Bark Chicago. We have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And if for more information, you can visit our website at hydebarkchicago.com.
I really enjoy, your Facebook group that you guys have, and the other pet sitter groups are just so helpful. And I think we all, need to help each other. And I like to go there all the time for help and trying to help other people.
Yeah.
So definitely open to always learning, helping, being helped.
That's something that we need a lot more of in business, is to be open to receiving good feedback and to sharing the knowledge that we've built up over time, because it's just like the community that you're living and working in. We can make the pet care industry a community that's helpful for everybody. So I thank you again so much for your time today and for sharing everything. It really means a lot.
Yeah, thanks for talking with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a good day.
When our goal is to provide an excellent service, instead of thinking of selling a dog walk or instead of selling a pet care service, when we sell trust and when we sell peace of mind, everything else flows from that. We attract the clients that are a good fit for us. We attract the staff that are going to be a good fit for us. And we work everything out from there. But the baseline, our starting point, is understanding that the service, the quality must be excellent and unrelenting in that pursuit of always providing a good service. And then we do what we can for our clients. We do what we can for our staff to meet their needs, to continue to support them in whatever way that looks like, so that we have that balance between running our business and making sure their lives are made the better for being a part of our company. We want to thank our sponsor today, Time to Pet, and thank you so much for listening. We're so appreciative, and we can't tell you how much it means to us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.